Hey everyone, welcome to the Overseas Famous Podcast, Season 5, Episode 12. I'm here with Travis Reed. Travis, former overseas basketball player, does a plethora of things now, and we're going to get into that because he is podcaster, TV host, book reviewer. He's got it all, and it's going to be really fun talking to him today. The show brought to you today by Loop Mogul, athlete-led sports metaverse powered by virtual real estate academies, games, meta shops for brands and fans with in real life rewards. Travis, thank you so much for joining us today, telling your story. Said to have you here.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on. For people that don't know, I found Kevin. I searched him out in the beginning of our friendship. I was like, man, I got to get you on my show, man. Like, we played in the same team just at different times. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was a pleasure, man.
It's awesome. It's great too because, like you said, I hopped on your podcast. You're hopping on this one. It's just good because I think what we talk about a lot, and we were talking about before we hopped on, was like the networking and how important that is, and how important post-career life is, and I feel like there's so many networking opportunities between guys who played, especially we both played in Estonia for the same team and different times. So we'll get into that, but it's a good networking experience. I think a lot of athletes almost walk away and they're like, okay, that's done. I'm going to focus on, and they just try to build with like coaching and stuff. And it's nice to have your network grow and be able to still stay in contact with a lot of guys for every reason. Mental, it's just a great way to kind of reconnect. So I'm glad you're on.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go into Estonia. Obviously, you played at a lot of places. Let's go into your favorite spot that you played. What is your favorite spot? And then we'll get more into Estonia if that's not the correct answer.
Right? Well, no, I would say Australia was fun because everybody spoke a form of English, not necessarily English, but a form of English. That was a cool spot. But I would probably say, no offense to my people I lived with in Holland, but like I would say, Estonia probably was the best place, minus the weather. The weather sucks. But like as far as like lifestyle, we were in the capital of the country.
Uh-huh.
Nightlife, everything else. Like I said, it was cool. I had a blast.
No, Estonia was incredible, and the weather was so true. I have a friend who lives in Chicago, and he'll send me pictures of like a snowstorm. I'm like, motherfucker, you don't have no idea what weather's like. Like, I lived in Estonia. Like, that's weather that it's snowing a few times in Chicago, but you'll see the grass occasionally. And I remember it was like April or May. It was the end of the season, and I was driving and I hit those potholes, because the whole road is like there's this much ice, and all of a sudden it starts melting. You'll just hit a pothole, and it's like 7-8 inches deep, and you're like, what the hell was that? And you're like, oh, that was the road. Interesting.
Agreed, man. Like I remember, like my first year I played there, it was like -15 one day. We had to go to practice, and I came out in a ski mask. All you saw was my eyes and my mouth. 4 pair of sweats, shoes, and my teammates like, it's not that cold. They're Estonian. They're used to it.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm from California, man. -15. This is torture.
And I remember that was one of those biggest memories that I had when you would walk, because you're playing. So when you're playing, like, while the arena might be a little cooler, you're still playing. It's like it's heated. There's things, you're playing, you're sweating, you're going, and you're drenched at the end of practice, and you come off and you're like putting all that stuff back on and getting in the car. And it's like such a change. Like, you're walking out, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm cold. And then you get in and the heat and like everything's getting condensation, and then that condensation freezes. Next morning, I just remember just like how crazy that was, that the switching of temperatures internally of your body at all times. And then just waking up in the morning, you're nice and warm, you go out and there's fucking a foot of snow in your car, you're just wiping that shit off, and you're like, this is crazy. Like, how did I end up here? but it was definitely a cool place. I loved the city. I loved how the city looked. I love the castle aspect. It was like you had that modern part and then you had the old school part. It was just cool. You got like both sides of Europe. So yeah, Estonia definitely was super cool.
Yeah. Nice, super nice. Like I thought, yeah, you know, it was like I said, it was really, really nice. Uh, the food was good. They had like a lot of American spots where you can go. Like I said, it was just fun. I had a blast, and like I said, the nightlife, like I said, was really fun. So
The nightlife was good. I do remember that. There's crazy stories. And I never like Australia was cool. Like you kind of had you had the girls and they were like chasing, they like the basketball players. So you'd walk around and they'd be finding you at the club and stuff. Estonia, people were like, it was like aggressive. Like you would walk out and people were like knocking on my door. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I was like, this is crazy. Like, where am I? How did I get like you had those super fans and they were like, they knew where you lived. They knew because I'm sure we probably lived in the same apartment. Like I guarantee because there's the high rise that my boy Sharon lived in, and then we lived kind of like over. It was like off, and there was like a woods a little bit, and then there was just an apartment complex. So I just rolled into one of those that had a fireplace in the middle. The kitchen was small. I just remember that, and then that was like people knew where I lived because I guess they were probably messing with the dudes who were there before me. So they were just like, oh, okay, he's got to be here, and like knocking on my door. I'm like, how is this even possible? Did you tail me home?
Yeah, I would definitely say that I had a good time. Yeah, probably was. Probably was, that place. I was not too far from the grocery store. Not too far from
same. Yep.
Yeah, not too far from the grocery store. Not too far from like the airport. The airport you flew into. So yeah, I was probably there. It was probably the same spot. A lot of memories there. A lot of memories.
I always think about that. I was thinking about that today, actually. How wild it is because they're not switching apartments. Like when you're overseas, you're not like they're not like, okay, let's rent a different apartment. It's like that's their apartment. Like they know that imports are staying there and they're coming in. And like I was thinking today, I'm like, shit, how many people have been in there? How many people have the key to that place that you have no idea about? Like you're going and resting every night and laying your head down, and you have no idea who has access to that place. And it's something I never thought about because you always were comfortable. I was like, well, if these motherfuckers aren't paying me, which Estonia did, but like other places, like if they're not paying me and then they're mad at me, like how many people have the key? Like you never know. And it was just one of those things that I never thought about. And I just thought about that today for the first time. I was like, oh shit, like how many people probably had that key? And just thinking about you and like we probably shared that apartment.
Well, I can tell you a funny story about my first year. I didn't have a bank account set up out there the first year. It took me like some months to set up out there. Basically to the end of the year. So all the money I made, I had in the shoebox. It was given to me cash. All the Estonian money I had in the shoebox. And then at the end of the year, I went to the Estonian bank, the big Estonian bank, whatever.
Yep.
And then I changed it all over to dollars, American dollars. And it came back with all the money I made for the whole year in my backpack. Super nervous. You know what I'm saying? Just super nervous getting on the plane and just I was waking up like to my backpack like, okay. On the airplane. So the next year, that's the first thing I did was get a bank, and so I could put the money in there, so I could send it home. Yeah.
No, it's one of those little tips that I don't think a lot of people. I think more so now that everything's digital. Most teams just put in the bank, but those were like the tips that because my brother played overseas before me, he kind of said the same thing, like open up a bank account and get this going because you really do go over there, and if they're not direct depositing, the shit could get haywire. And just thinking about how many people could have been in and out of your place. I remember like the one lady came in and I guess I have no idea if my ass was about to get cut or if they just were planning on like cleaning it anyway. but like a
Right.
cleaning lady was in my one spot the one time, and I was like, the hell, like what is going on? I walk in, and she's like, she's not speaking English, I'm not speaking her language, and she just was smiling at me. I was like, I have no idea what's going on, but all my stuff was still there, so I was like, all right, I guess this is I guess we're good. But it's just those little things that you don't think about. And
Mhm,
like you said, with
mhm.
that money, you got to be careful, because that's the biggest thing. You work, a lot of people are coming over with cash and just putting in a bag, because I mean, shit, it's like we're in a cash business. Like I feel like sometimes we're like drug dealers. Like we're in a cash
Yeah.
business. We're just huge back briefcases full of cash just wandering around.
I definitely agree with you on that, man. Gosh, like that was, yeah, like I said, like having the backpack and like I said, just literally having a year's worth of money. So I had a CD player, so I was putting like 3,000 behind one CD, 2,000 behind one CD, 1,500, this. And I remember the person I was with at the time, I came back and she was like, "Damn, you don't have a bank account out there?" I'm like, "I have a bank account for the year." So she had to help me count the cash like I was a drug dealer. Like we over here cutting the hundreds like
uh-huh. You got the little machine. It's just like ripping
yeah, like
through.
I wish she had like a little, yeah. She was like, we was doing it by hand, so that's what made it really funny, you know what I'm saying?
That
So
it really is. And it is a while just how far we've come, in the overseas world, and how
mhm.
we're like things are being modernized. And I think, at there's global banks. It's crazy because always think about like the cell phone was a wild thing, that like we got there and we just went and got a cell phone and like put a SIM card in it, and we were just able to call people here. But then I had like Skype and your contact and through that, but like now guys just bring their cell phone and it's like, all right, we're cool. Like you can kind of use your own stuff. There's no, you're speaking my language with the CDs. Like you're carrying these CD players and CD, holders and DVD holders, and I'm like, man, like what the hell? Like these guys just have like a phone, and like all your shit is on the phone. There's the
Yep.
movies, the music. I'm sitting there,
hmm
it's like it's crazy like how lightly you can travel nowadays. And I guess like people dress up more now. Like there's more shit. I just wore like the same shit every day. Like that's how I rolled overseas. I was like not really dressing up much.
No, it was. I mean, I was going to Prague with sweats and sweatshirt literally every day. Like every day. Like the only time I would even wear anything would be like obviously if I'm going out, but like
Yep,
for the most part, it was just sweats and sweatshirt, and sometimes it was whatever the team was giving or whatever the case is.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
it was never.
you had that
Never
rotation.
uniform.
Yeah, you had the
Yeah.
rotation of like the going out clothes that you would just rock. I remember just being there and being in a foreign country and just being like, I want to wear jeans. Like I want to dress up. Like I've been wearing sweats for the past like 2.5 months. Like I need to dress up. I need to get something going, because I feel like this is bullshit. Like I'm just walking around in sweats the whole time. Like I feel like a slob. I'm like, I need to start dress up to go to the grocery store. People are like, okay,
No,
using one
I
of my like
understand
6 outfits.
that. Trust me, I hear you, man. I hear you on that. I was, yeah, it was the same. Like you feel like a certain way, but I was like, whatever, because I'm just going here, so whatever, you know.
So your career, obviously, you were extremely successful, great basketball player. When that time came, now you've opened up your whole career into podcasting and media and TV. And how was your transition from when you were playing into kind of that afterlife that we call it? How was that? Because I look at the athlete's journey. You're doing other podcasts, like you are constantly in the media, and it's great because you have such a knack for it. But was that something you always wanted to do? Is that something you were kind of working towards, or is that something that you were just like, I think I could be good at this?
Well, like we rewind to the first question of like, how was that transition after ball? It was extremely hard, extremely hard. I talk about it, I tell people all the time, like, better than anybody about that life. I would say, and I think you probably discussed it before, but I'd say being an overseas basketball player basically we have the worst contracts in all of professional sports because essentially we're just on 1 year deals every single year. And sometimes what happens is you could be on 3-month deal. You know, they can cut you in December or something like that, and they say you have a guaranteed contract, and uh, they can say, okay, well, you can fight us in court, but good luck with that. And, you know what I'm saying? So they kind of hold the cards in a way, you know. And so for me, after I retired, uh, it was just a struggle because I had no idea what I wanted to do. You know, like I've been playing basketball since I was basically 4 or 5 years old, and I retired when I was 33. So 28, 29 years of playing, sports, and all of a sudden, okay, now go do something else. You know, and at that time, I had a 3-year-old son, and I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I just didn't know who I was besides this professional basketball player. So it was just a struggle. Now, how I got into social media was like a friend of mine who I grew up with, played basketball. We went to college together, played overseas together. Actually, Billy Knight. He played 16 years in overseas,
Mm-hmm.
and he was basically like, like he didn't make the transition. Like for me, I had low points, very low points. Uh, I turned to alcohol and substance abuse things, and so I got lost in that. Where he didn't make that transition well. Like he was trying to figure out what I do. I want to coach, do I want to train? I don't know what I want to do. And so like he was struggling so much that he committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Because he couldn't take it anymore. And so after him, that's when I said, okay, his story needs to be told. My story needs to be told because everybody just focuses on the NBA, like NBA players, NBA stories, whatever, or just in athletes in general, like where overseas guys like you and me, our stories are never really told in the right way. And that's one of the reasons why I did it. Plus, my son asked me, he was like, Dad, how was your overseas career? And I said, son, that's a long and complicated answer. And that's what I was like, oh, okay. I'm gonna do a podcast,
Uh-huh.
tell my story. And that's how we basically started, because of Billy, my boy Billy passing, and then my son
Mm-hmm.
asked me the question. And so like it's just grown from that, like I did a podcast. My first official podcast was Travis Street of Basketball Life. And then I just talked about basically my 10 years of overseas basketball, like the ups and downs, the money, the all the yings and yangs, that only few of us know. And people was like, man, I want to tell my story. And then that turned into an athlete's journey. Uh, and, I was in, so on and so forth for the other shows. But yeah, that's how that whole thing started.
It is incredible just the you hit on it well with the mental side and like how difficult that journey is. And you said the word like you didn't know who you were, and that was something that I can completely relate to because you're who you are as a basketball player, and that's what you know. And now you have to completely take whatever 30 something years of your life and just be like, all right, throw that out because that's no longer what you are. What are you now? And
Yeah, yeah.
trying to explain that to young basketball players that like you need to be giving your all now, but you have to kind of look at what you're going to be because it's like the short term versus the long term. And I always tell guys like it's the long term investment. Like you're a long term investment, and if you think on the short term, that transition is going to be really tough because you're not going to be able to move on.
You're not. I would say this. I thought I was going to play more. To be
Mm-hmm.
honest, I had just came off a good season in Australia. My team went to the championship, even though we lost. I was like first team all league or whatever. I averaged 20-10 my last season, and the team's offers wasn't like it was the money wasn't good. Like there was
Mm-hmm.
like offers that I was like, man, I could just stay home and try to make this.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's after like at my peak when I was in Estonia, I was making my peak money. Making like $18,000-$19,000 a month, and like I
Mm-hmm.
can't go all the way down to 3, 4, 5,000. I'm like, dude, 4,000. I'm like, dude, I can't do this no more. I can't just say I'm gonna take this money because I had a son then. I didn't have a
Yeah.
son in the 20th. I had a son then, so like it was just a tough transition, and I'm like, you know, just like I tried I tried to figure out, okay, maybe one more year, but just the money just wasn't. I couldn't do it. I
Yeah.
just couldn't. And I meant to. You said something. You made a clip, and you are 100% right on it. I wanted to comment and say you are 100% right that when you're overseas, people thinking you're making NBA money,
It's
right?
crazy.
Yeah, they think you make NBA money. They'd be like thinking like you making LeBron, Kobe money. And I'm like, dude, yeah, I make 100,000. Let's just
Uh-huh.
throw that 100,000.
Yeah.
Dude, that's nowhere near 50 million. Like, shoot. But your family is like, man, you making 100,000? I'm
Uh-huh.
like, man, that goes fast. It
Yep.
don't last forever. So
No.
you have to have a backup plan, because that money goes real fast. Because sometimes it's yourself trying to keep up with the Joneses. I had a lot of NBA guys with my
Uh-huh.
friends, so I'll be like, they would get a bottle, I might get a bottle. Now I
Uh-huh.
wouldn't get 8 bottles like them. I would maybe get one, but still, you know. Um, so you just think that this money train is gonna keep coming, but like I said, it just abruptly stops.
No, I mean, even like the guys I grew up with, it's crazy because you kind of go into that situation where they're like, you're playing pro basketball. So we go out to eat or go to the bar, and the bill comes. All these motherfuckers are just like looking away. I'm like what? I don't think you understand what I'm doing well. Like that, let's not like I'm doing well. I'm doing well on a yearly basis, and like you stated, like those overseas contracts are year to year, and like it's not like, hey, I'm making this much money, I'm making 150 for the rest of my life, and it's only going to go up. It's like, no, that shit's just going to go down. Like you're on the other end. Like you could be making, you grinded to make that money, but then as you start declining, your body it's like the money starts dropping, and then it's like guys just think that you are set for life, and it's really not true. It's like you really have to, I don't care what you're making, and it's tough because we're trying to keep up, and we're trying to be like, we're a pro basketball player, and like I'm gonna live that pro basketball player life. Then like those statements start coming, you're like, all right, shit, I gotta cut a bit. Like I don't know where I'm playing next year. I have no idea what's coming. Like I need to
Oh,
cut back.
dude, you spend money for the summer, right? You'd be like, yeah, I'm a pro. I got, let's just say
Yeah.
75,000 in the bank or whatever. And then when you get to like August and you're like down to 45, like, okay, you call the agent like, hey, I need another gig, man. I just spent 30,000 this summer, you know? And he like, because you know how it is with agents, when they have a job for you, your phone gets blown up. They
Oh
they
yeah.
call you 4 or 5 times a day. When they don't have any
Uh-huh.
job, it's like crickets. You can't even get them. Like you can't even get nothing, a dial tone, an email request, nothing. So you can just be like, yeah, man, I'm down to 38,000. You know what I'm saying? I need this job. Come on, man.
Get this
You know,
re-upped. Yeah.
hurry up and get me a job. And then sometimes you even lowball yourself because you figure like, well, I don't want to risk not
Mm-hmm.
making, what I'm saying, not making this money. I need this money. It's because
Yeah.
when the summer, the money just goes out, 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 out. There's
Yeah.
nothing coming in. So yeah, I know how you feel when it comes to that. And like you said, like the older you get, the money declines. It don't
Yeah.
increase.
Uh-huh. And then
You know.
once that kind of go, like once you retire, that's like when I'm just like, okay, I'm retired. And I thought I was in the same boat. I was like offered these jobs, and I'd hurt my knee, and I'm like, all right, I think I'm gonna take this just because I'm gonna keep playing, and I need to reprove myself. And you kind of take those or like consider those low ball offers, and then you're kind of like sitting there, and you're gonna, you know what, I could probably make that home, like doing something, and I don't have to
Mhm.
go, and I don't have to travel. And it's just the mindset is so wild because as the money starts dwindling and you're at the end of the career, that's when it's like, all right, I can, you've it's kind of like not that you've had enough of basketball, but you had enough of the game, like the bullshit. And you're kind of like, all right, I feel like this is where I'm headed. This is where I'm going. I think I could do this here. I think I'm just going to stop. And you don't really know. Like, there's everyone always says retirement. Like, it's like we're Tom Brady and we're announcing it on Instagram or whatever. It's not like that. Like, we just are sitting there like, okay, let's go through the summer and see if anything calls. And then there's like, okay, you're offered, $5,000 or $4,000 a month, and you're like, damn, like I don't feel like going back over to some shithole for that much. And it just then you just kind of at some point you reach that breaking point and you're like, you know what? I'm retired. Like I'm fucking done.
Yeah, like this. Like I always say with European basketball players, there's no like medical insurance for life.
Yeah.
Like you make what you make. Like say you make it like 85,000, you really make 70,000 or 75,000 because they take the taxes out or whatever, and that's all you make. You don't. There's no nothing. Like
Yeah.
there's no in summer. It's just this is what you make. Whatever you do, whatever. And then okay, see ya, goodbye. No send off, no nothing. Like it is what it is. And so, like, when you're at the end and you're like, you want to say, go back to your old team. Like, hey, maybe you can hook me up, give me a good deal. Nope. We're on to the next young guy. He has to carry us. You don't, unless you get a passport, your career is gone just in the blink of an eye,
Mm-hmm. And
so
I always
plus,
think about. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say plus, I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, no,
But
no.
plus, like what you said, like with your knee hurting, like I had 2 stress fractures in my shins. So I was popping a leave like Skittles, the play. Like I would say, like in the beginning, they gave me some medicine. It was really strong. So my legs felt great, right?
Yeah.
So that medicine, when I left that team, that medicine ran out, obviously. So I'm like figuring out what pain pills I could take, to pop in my legs. So yeah, my legs won't be like hurting, especially in the
Uh-huh.
stony hell. You know what I'm saying? So I needed something to warm my body up. So I was taking a lot of deep heat. I was bathing in deep heat before practice, before
Uh-huh.
games, and popping the leave like, all right, for practice I got to take 4. For games I got to take 8.
Yeah. I remember
So
the trainer for Estonia, like the younger guy. He was like, my back was hurting so bad. So I used to go and he used to stretch me out, like my back out, like every day after practice, before practice, after games, before games. And like
mhm.
the one day he's like, why does your back hurt so much? I was like, motherfucker, it's like negative 10 degrees outside. Like, what do you mean? Why does my back hurt? I'm like, it's so cold here. Everything
Yes,
hurts.
exactly, dude. That's exactly. I was like, dude, it was so cold. That's why I was like, felt when the other Americans that would come here, like the Estonian play. There's only a couple of them that played, like the ones who were used to the climate, they would play well. But the Americans from like Spain or like other places, they would play terrible because they felt like they was stiff as a
Uh-huh.
board out there, you know. So it was always funny to me, like I was like, dude, like it sucks. It's cold. I'm popping pills like it's like like it's Skittles, man. And like just like man, my dad was like, son, this can't be good for your liver. You
No.
can't be taking pain to leave, to get yourself going. It can't be good.
No, 100% not. But it's what you do, and you're right. Like it's just different over there. Like you got to do what you got to do to survive. Because if you don't, like they'll just find someone else who will do it, and you're just like, all right, it's like I feel like it's a very high school like atmosphere because in high school it's like you're trying to get to that next level, so you're trying to go and continue and like, am I going to get a scholarship? So high school you're just playing through injuries and whatever, and then it's the same thing overseas. Like the NBA, like there's no rest days, like there's no load management. It's like, can you imagine walking up to your coach and be like, hey, I'm gonna just take this one off, I'm a little tired. Be like, all right, here's a plane ticket.
Exactly, dude. I remember I had just came off of surgery, and we were playing like the weakest team in the league. And I was like, "Yeah, coach, my leg kind of sore, from this and that. I'm gonna just take." He's like, "Why, coach? This team has they're rookies. We're gonna win anyway. What? Just play them, right?"
You have the best domestic players in the country. Play them. Let them play.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like I don't. They were like 1-18 or whatever in that league. Yeah, I had just played in the ULIP Cup like on Tuesday. We had a game Wednesday. He was like, you can't play. Like he was mad that I even thought about it. And I was like, I'm not playing, dude. Like my leg hurts. I'm
uh,
taking it. Like, but he was
Uh-huh.
so offended that, what I'm saying? Like, I would have the audacity to say, like, you can't play. He said, you can play one half. Nah, man, I'm not playing the game, dude.
What
No.
half? No, we're not compromising. This is not a
Right? Like, no,
compromise.
it's
Like
not.
I'm
No,
not
it's not
I'm not
happening.
putting my uniform on. Like I'm wearing jeans.
Yeah, right. I have sandals on. I didn't bring my shoes. It's not
Uh,
happening today, Coach. Just to let you
yeah.
know. But that, I felt like that's how it was in Europe. Like when we was in Estonia, you know about it. We was in the Baltic League, the
Yep.
Estonian League, we played in the FIBA Cup my first year. The next year we played in Europe Cup.
Yep.
So we was having 3-4 games a week, every week. Like
Yeah.
we had an NBA schedule.
It's
And
yeah, it's and that's what people don't understand. They're like, oh well, because there's so many misconceptions, and it's like, oh well, you guys played once a week. I was like, no, it's like when you're good, you play multiple times a week. And guess what? I wanted to play multiple times a week because I don't want to in practice like a week of
yeah,
practice was worse than multiple. I'd be like,
no,
I'd
it
rather play in a
was,
game.
dude. It was. Dude, it was like practice, especially my coach. He was a Serbian coach. So he was like practice twice a day, hard, like I was like, whatever, dude. I would just cruise just enough to get through practice, like okay. And then in the games turn up, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But like
Uh
I would catch it in the post, pass it out to the Estonian dude. He would look for me to score like in the game. I'm like, nope, that's out.
huh. Let's work on
Y'all
you
shoot.
today.
Let's
Yeah.
work on you. I'm gonna just be passing. I am not looking to shoot. So it was always like, that's how I felt about Estonia. It was just like a lot of games, hard, a lot of nights, cold nights. I loved it. Don't get me wrong, but like you said, like it's hard to play the overseas basketball. It's really hard.
It is, and the cold. I think the topic is the cold, but the cold is like the winter. People get more depressed because you're not outside. You're not like interacting with people. It's like you're going to your job. You're coming home. You're maybe going to eat, but like there's not as much just like friendly interaction with strangers, and that cold does play a part because it's like it's cold, it's dark, you're by yourself. It's like this sucks. Like there's times when you're just kind of like, this is this,
Yeah.
like what
No.
am I doing right now? Like your friends
Yeah.
are like, oh,
Yes.
I'm getting married. I'm like, cool. I'm fucking shoveling snow off the hood of my car today. It's fun.
So sometimes I would be looking like I'd be looking out the window and it'd be like, I don't know what color, it'd be like blizzard outside and the blizzard's just going. And you're just like, dude, what am I doing here? Dude? What am I doing here? So I can never just come back to the States and maybe play the NBA or something.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like, what I'm saying? Like this sucks. And you just be sitting there, it'd be like 8 o'clock at night. And you just be like, dude, I don't know. I think I'm gonna just go to bed.
Yeah. And then you're like, who's gonna find me out here? Like, what scout is gonna find me out here? I'm like out in the
Exactly,
middle of nowhere.
exactly. Like in the middle of just nowhere. Just yeah. That's exactly how I felt. Like, oh,
Well, listen, this is I feel like that we need a part two because we talk like, okay, keep it at this time, but I'm like, these are my favorite conversations because we know each other too. And so it's not like an introduction, but then I feel like we've gone on such a similar path that our stories, it's just a good reminiscing, and it's a good way when people listen to kind of hear about overseas basketball, but at the same time to kind of just share our stories and just have fun. Like you were talking, this is the reason why we do this. This is just for fun. And like, we want to get the stories out there. We want to get people's stuff out there and just know that there's a whole entire world of professional sports that exists, like not on your TV, but people are playing it right now and it's awesome.
no, I agree with you 100%. I think that I haven't really been looking. I haven't looked at Eurobasket in a while now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I used to look at it even after when I first retired, or when I was first trying to get a job, I was looking like, what's going on here and here and here,
Yeah.
but now, I haven't even been on it in years. But you're 100% right. I think our story, we can talk about this for hours easy, like,
100%.
you know what I'm saying? Because like when you play overseas, it's like a brotherhood bond that like only you understand. Like, we understand about the cold in Estonia. We understand about playing, taking a 9-hour bus ride to Lithuania. You play at 2:00. Who plays at 2:00? The next day, you know what I'm saying? And then you on the bus 9 hours, you get back at 2 a.m, and you're like, maybe let's go to the club,
Who's doing anything? I have no idea how to contact you, but whatever. Let's see what's out there.
Exactly. Let's, hey, it's Saturday night or whatever. It's 2:00 in. Let's go to the club.
People are out there. Let's go find it. Let's go find a party.
Let's go find it. And so, like, it was always, those bus rides. I hate. That was the only thing I did hate was like going to Latvia, Lithuania.
Mm-hmm.
Lithuania wasn't that bad. I mean, Latvia wasn't that bad, but going to Lithuania was like,
oh yeah,
those are just like the worst.
That was the worst.
Yeah,
and you're right. Like the afternoon games, like we always would play. It was like 4:00. You're like, what the 4:00? Who plays at 4:00?
I was like, I can't get my nap. I can't get my, I can't get my regular routine of a game. I'm like,
yeah,
4:00.
My parents would wake up and be like, "Did you play?" I'd be like, "Yeah." Like, "Did you win?" And be like, "Yeah." We're on the bus. It's like, "Oh, okay." They were fucking sleeping. It's like, who plays so early?
Yeah, like who plays at 4? And it was like, we would play at 4. We would stop at McDonald's or whatever on the way back, and just like a 9-hour just through the country where you don't see nothing but just like fields and fields of nothing. And so you try to sleep some, and like, I don't know. It was just, out of those kind of things I didn't like, but like overall, I love the experience of the overseas life. And yeah, like I said, I think that, I enjoy talking to you about it because, like I said, you did the same things that I did. So, but yeah, like our stories, I feel like needs to be told, just because, like, those are the stories that you necessarily don't hear about. I mean, everybody is not, talented enough to write a book like you. Promoting your book, Inspired, by the way.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that, like, people, like I said, those stories just need to be told and get out.
100%. No, I totally agree. Last thing when I'm thinking about the bus rides, I remember going to Estonia and like coming back. And like even on the away games, it was like a gas station or like a rest stop, but they had like home cooked meals. Like it was just like a cafeteria worker scooping, and you're just kind of like, what? Like, is there like, where am I? Why are you sitting here on the side of the road cooking? Like, this is so weird to me. But it's just that was their style, and I was like, all right, cool. I mean,
no, it was good. Always like that. For us, the Americans, the other Americans, like, we ain't stopping. Like, we didn't do none of those. Like the Estonians, they wanted to do that. They wanted to go to like some stuff. Like most of like the other Americans, like, nah.
Yeah.
McDonald's. McDonald's.
We're not going here.
We're not going here. We're not. I was in Estonia. I was actually in Finland. It was preseason, and we ate at one of those places. Like those, like where they, scoop and stuff.
Yep.
I got food poisoning, in the middle of the tournament, so I couldn't play the last couple games. And after that, I was like, man, never again. I'm just gonna eat McDonald's like with them.
I'm done exploring. We're good.
I'm done exploring. Like, let me try it. I've been, nope. Just McDonald's.
We're done.
Mm-hmm,
well, Travis, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate what you're doing. With all the stuff you're doing, it's appreciated, and we love the community that is being grown for overseas athletes, and we're very excited to be a part of it and to be collaborating and working with fine people like you. So I really appreciate you coming on, telling your story. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, like I said, I appreciate it, Kevin, man. Thank you for having me on. We can do it anytime, man. Whenever you want me to come back on, I definitely hop on anytime.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much. This has been the Overseas Famous Podcast. See you guys next week.